Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. On Tuesday, a second XRP ETF was filed for with the SEC. And I'm not surprised to see this. As a community, we were talking about this quite a bit earlier this year, and I brought it up on my channel numerous times, and I said, especially at the beginning part of the year, won't be at all surprised even if this year we see multiple XRP ETFs filed for. Didn't know if it would happen, but now here we are later in the year, and this is the second one that has been filed for both this month, October 2024, but earlier this year, I was speculating that probably not going to get approved. Now, my tune has changed on that because there is new real-world information and developments, and so it only makes sense that I've changed what I think is most probable here. And so, why do I say that? Well, it's because the Ethereum ETF got approved, which most people, frankly, who are analyzing the situation thought was not going to be happening under Gary Gensler, at least certainly not anytime soon, yet it happened. Political will, whatever it is, it happened. And I'll get into it a little bit further into the video, but given that's the case, I think the SEC is going to have a hell of a time denying pretty much any other XRP ETF that's applied for, especially when you're talking about a cryptocurrency like XRP that's already been through the ringer, got legal clarity, been around for over a decade. Going to be hard for the SEC to pass on that one, but I do want to talk about that because there are still some in the crypto space, including crypto media outlets, that would have you believe that this is going to be some sort of tremendous uphill battle. And it depends. There are some asshat pricks over at the SEC, and if they want to be dirty and mischievous, particularly horrendous to do with anything having to do with XRP, okay, maybe. But there will be consequences for them even if they do that. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And by the way, I want to mention here before going any further, one of the primary reasons that this second XRP ETF was filed for is because the founder of this particular investment firm says that there is growing demand for this product. That's right, there's growing demand specifically for XRP and specifically an XRP ETF. Now, the first ETF was filed, and I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but just a minimal amount of table setting in case somebody missed this news. We first found that Bitwise was going to file for an XRP ETF with the SEC on October 1st. Here you can see the headline from Telegraph. Bitwise files XRP ETF trust registration in Delaware. Now, that was not the filing with the SEC, so this was the first indication that this was going to happen, and people in the know contacted Bitwise. There was a confirmation, yes, the filing with the state of Delaware was real, and it wasn't until the next day, October 2nd, that the actual filing with the SEC occurred. Now, hours after that, we had the SEC file appeal for appeal against the Judge Torres ruling in the SEC v. Ripple case. Peculiar timing. Okay, now I think that the appeal was going to come down. Regardless, is it possible that these little demon asshat pricks, expedited that? Maybe they're going to wait another couple days. Who knows? But they moved it up just to try and douse any sort of potential positive price action for XRP. Maybe. No, they didn't do good. If that was their goal, they had very limited success. Almost nobody panic sold XRP because I think it's pretty clear to anybody holding XRP at this particular juncture in time. XRP is legal clarity. It just doesn't matter at this point. But that's what happened. Still, we see headlines like this. This is one from just several days ago from Telegraph. XRP's ETF hopes after SEC appeal depend on U.S. election analysts. Now, I don't buy this narrative, to be honest with you. But here was somebody who's respected in the crypto space, Eric Balkunas, and he's been reporting on all sorts of stuff leading up. This is why he's kind of famous within crypto now. He's very well known at this point with hundreds of thousands of followers. He was reporting heavily on what was all the developments leading up to the spot Bitcoin ETF in January. And so here's what he had to say about the a couple potential XRP ETFs. Here's the first one. This is from October 2nd. You've heard of the Fed put. This is like the Trump call. Filings for XRP or Solana or any other altcoin are basically like a cheap call option on a Trump win, as Gens, meaning Gary Gensler, will be gone and anything's possible. Harris wins, no way these get approved, and the call expires worthless. Well, look, maybe he's right. I'm a bit skeptical of that because I'm just saying, if it is indeed the case that the SEC is just going to let Bitcoin through and then, okay, we'll let ETH through, and then they close the date behind those two cryptos, good luck. Do you remember the reason that the Bitcoin ETF got approved in the first place? It's because Grayscale sued and won against the SEC. After that happened, there's no way that Gary Gensler and all the other asshats over at the SEC could reasonably say that, no, it's not safe to launch the Bitcoin ETF. The judge made it very clear that there's no way. So that got through. And then after that, they let the ETH ETF get through. There is no reasonable argument for even this current bureaucracy with the current the current leadership, if you want to call it that, over at the SEC. There's no way they're going to get away with it. So I'm not saying that it's impossible for them to say no to an XRP ETF. They might. But I will tell you this, if that happens, they should expect that they're going to get sued into oblivion probably by multiple parties. And they're going to lose. They're going to lose if that happens. So if they want to fight that battle and prolong it, they can do that, but they're going to lose. And so in that sense, even if we have to go that route, I would say even if Harris wins, you're still going to have development that probably exactly that development under that particular circumstance. Now, hopefully that's not the case and we don't have to worry about any of this. It'd be great if Gensler's out of there. And it's a virtual certainty. If there's an administrative change, in the United States after the election comes, and Gensler's going to be out of here. He just will be. That's the norm. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about that particularly. Like, I'm just saying either way, I think ultimately an XRP ETF is going to get approved. I acknowledge there could be some roadblocks, but to think that it's just done and it's not going to happen, if Harris wins, I'm not convinced of it. I think there's going to be some more fight in these crypto companies. That's the reason that I say that. And if you're thinking that, the appeal is going to slow this down, I strongly disagree. And by the way, I'll just note in this Cointelegraph article from just a few hours ago, titled Canary Capital Follows Bitwise in Filing for Spot XRP ETF, and I'll get to the specifics of it in just a second here. I want to note part of what they stated in the article, I think it was at the end here if memory serves. They wrote here, there are likely significant barriers to approval, referencing, of course, the XRP ETF, including the SEC's appeal of its lawsuit against XRP issuer Ripple. Now, of course, it's Cointelegraph, so they're going to lie and say that Ripple was the issuer of XRP, even though XRP predates the existence of Ripple, but they're Cointelegraph. They're just going to say crap like that, and they know better, but they just do it. They just do it anyway. They've always shown bias against Ripple and the XRP ecosystem and the XRP community, so on and so forth. So that's not surprising. But their analysis is also wrong. This is definitely faulty. That is not a barrier whatsoever. And I've been screaming this since the beginning. And I'll tell you this, Attorney Bill Morgan absolutely agrees. And it's not even my opinion. I'm telling you this is a matter of fact. This isn't my opinion. This is fact. Judge Torres did not rule on secondary market transactions that have nothing to do with Ripple. She ruled on transactions specifically having to do with Ripple. And yes, if Ripple's selling XRP on an exchange, you can call that a secondary market transaction, but it's a secondary market transaction that specifically originates with Ripple. That is what Judge Torres ruled on, not secondary market transactions that you and I would engage on, with, whether it's Coinbase, Kraken, whatever the hell the exchange is. That, in fact, as Attorney Bill Morgan cited, she made it clear, like she put a footnote in her decision to point that out so that there was no confusion over it. So it's not my opinion that the appeal in the SEC v. Ripple case will not slow down the approval of the XRP ETF. That is not just my opinion. It is fact that it won't. It is literal fact, and that's great news for us. That can't be an excuse because it has nothing, the appeal has nothing to do with the legal status of XRP or its trading on secondary markets other than specific transaction with Ripple. We're in the clear. We do not have to worry about that. That's a false narrative. Don't believe anybody that says that. So I was having a friendly conversation earlier this month with somebody on this exact topic, and then and I knew this was the case. It had been beaten into my head from multiple attorneys. No, anything that happens, if there's an appeal, leading up to this, and now it has happened, but if there's going to be an appeal, it'll only pertain specifically to Ripple. And I knew that. But I went ahead and tagged some attorneys, including Attorney Bill Morgan, to see if they'd be willing to flesh out and share some additional thoughts on this in the conversation that I was in. It's not worth reading through the whole thing for the purposes of this video, but here's what Attorney Bill Morgan had to say, and this is from October 3rd. There is some confusion in this matter about the issue of secondary sales. Some people treat Ripple's sales by programmatic means to retail investors via exchanges as secondary sales. Judge Torres did not rule on secondary sales in the sense of sales made by you and I if we go onto an exchange and sell XRP to other retail investors. Okay, pause. That's what I was just saying a second ago. She was talking, she ruled specifically on secondary market transactions. That's the programmatic side. That Ripple was a part of. That's a key part, not that you and I were engaging in, period. And then Attorney Morgan says, the judge made this clear in a footnote in the summary judgment decision. That issue was not decided and therefore cannot be the subject of the appeal. Folks, literally, the SEC cannot appeal that because the judge didn't rule on it. Think about it. It's not a matter in this lawsuit. Just imagine, it's just like you could pick a lawsuit from an entirely different industry. I don't care what it's about. It could be about pancakes. I don't care. The SEC doesn't get to appeal a decision about pancakes that didn't exist in the lawsuit. I don't care. It's not going to happen. Don't believe anybody that tells you otherwise. And then he says, the appeal in terms of liability is limited to the programmatic sales or other sales and distributions of Ripple. Okay, and when he says programmatic sales, that's the term Ripple came up with, which the SEC used in the complaint that they filed. That's why the term programmatic has been used for several years now as it pertains to this particular lawsuit. All that means is those transactions Ripple started, it originated with Ripple, on secondary markets, but again, just the ones that Ripple initiated. And then he says the appeal could, of course, extend to issues concerning the penalty, injunction, and disgorgement issues. I had an exchange some time ago with former SEC attorney Mark Fagel, and I recall that we both agreed that it was most likely, although not certain, that the appeal will be limited to the issues concerning programmatic sales and other distributions. Yeah, and so certainly fair enough there. But the good news is, of course, ultimately there is going to be an XRP ETF, and it will be one of those things, as I always say, and I firmly believe this, that will help to ensure the long-term viability of XRP and the XRP ledger. And there are so many things that I've said for which that is true. And I love that. There's so much going on in the XRP ecosystem. And so many of these things have proven to help in terms of price appreciation and other change. And so we're seeing all sorts of stuff happen here. And this after XRP's been, coiling up for almost 7 freaking years. And it's got legal clarity. And we're, right before, presumably anyway, nobody knows for sure, but presumably right before the final stage of the blow off top for this market cycle. XRP's never been so perfectly queued up here, and this is at a moment where now you have the second application from a firm filed with the SEC for a spot XRP ETF. Why? Because there's growing demand. How about that? So here's the headline from Bloomberg. Wall Street races to launch latest cohort of crypto spot ETFs. The race to launch an exchange-traded fund tracking XRP, the 7th largest digital token, has begun. Canary Capital Group, a digital asset-focused investment firm founded in September, submitted paperwork with the Securities and Exchange Commission Tuesday to launch the Canary XRP ETF. It comes just a week after Bitwise Asset Management, Inc. became the first firm to file for an ETF tracking the token. Canary founder and former Valkyrie Funds co-founder Stephen McGlurk said in a statement that it was encouraged by, quote, and this is important, signs of a more progressive regulatory environment coupled with growing demand from investors, end quote. That's right. So he filed this, mind you, after the appeal. Some people thought that Bitwise was foolhardy for filing right before we knew if the SEC was going to appeal, but no, they weren't foolish. They knew that even if there's an appeal, it wouldn't impact the status of XRP. So they didn't give a damn. Bitwise didn't care. Here we are now on the other side of things where we know that the SEC has appealed. And this guy's like, yeah, but we're filing anyway because it doesn't matter. He knows that. He's saying the regulatory environment is good. And there's some people that panic sold a few days ago because of that news. It's very sad, but they didn't know any better. They got shaken out of their positions. I mean, it is what it is. But then you have that coupled with growing demand from investors. Now, a key reason this matters is because when you're talking about an ETF, yes, it's true that if their customers purchase the ETF, they're not buying XRP. They're buying an ETF that tracks the price action of XRP. So why does that matter then? Well, that doesn't help with supply and demand. Oh, yes, it does. The reason it does is because Canary, the investment firm, is going to buy the XRP to back whatever quantity of the ETF is purchased by their customers. So it is absolutely back. Canary will back all of these purchases from their customers. They all be backed with actual XRP. So it directly impacts the supply and demand dynamics of XRP. It's not like it's futures contracts with XRP. That wouldn't be the same. Maybe to some degree they would just. I mean, it's another piece of the pie in terms of, okay, this is something that you expect from traditional finance. Now it's getting applied to XRP, super duper. But this is way, way, way better because it immediately impacts the supply and demand dynamics of XRP. And then people get exposure to it. So that's fantastic. Anyway, piece continues. The filings come after the much anticipated launch of ETFs that hold Bitcoin and Ether earlier this year, and as companies including VanEck Asset Management and 21 Shares AG seek to roll out funds linked to the Solana token. Bitcoin ETFs have lured almost $19 billion since their debut, while Ether ETFs have around $550 million of outflows. Canary's filing didn't include a ticker or anticipated fee. It would be the firm's first ETF. The XRP filings indicate that issuers are pushing regulators to open up the crypto boom to the wider retail crowd. Quote, "This demonstrates that ETF providers will be closely following the regulatory landscape for perceived daylight and allowing them to offer new products," end quote, said Stéphane Ouellette, whose name I'm probably butchering, co-founder and chief executive officer of FRNT Financial. And he said, quote, "There's still uncertainty whether they will be approved, and it will very much make sense for two firms born out of the crypto native landscape to try to broaden their product offerings," end quote. And so there is another acknowledgement that it's based on the regulatory landscape. That's why they're doing this, because XRP is in the clear. Did you notice that no exchanges delisted XRP after this appeal? Did you notice that? Did you sniff that one out? Because no firm, no exchange delisted XRP. To the contrary, we're getting further adoption, and in this way, it's in line with what the type of stuff ETFs that you'd see in legacy finance. Which, as I've always said, it's an inevitability this is going to happen. So whether or not it gets approved here, we'll see. Either way, XRP goes on to have a fantastic bull run, I believe anyway, so long as we do have a proper alt season. So that's the caveat for me, of course. But another fantastic development. You'll love to see it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.